Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture Down Under. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Blackest Night 10th Anniversary Omnibus, written by Geoff Johns and a host of other writers, as well as art by Ivan Reyes, Doug Mahnke, and a whole ton of other amazing DC artists. So, let's take a look at the front cover here first. We can see we've got Black Hand in the middle, who is a character from Green Lantern lore, who plays a very big role in this event. And we've got a whole bunch of DC characters such as Aquaman, Hawkman, Martian Manhunter, Elongated Man, and others in their Black Lantern versions. So basically zombified versions. Now, it doesn't really show up on the in the video, but we have a gloss finish on the front cover here, and the words are given in a sort of a matte tone, which creates a little bit of a contrast when you're looking at it. It looks really nice in person. Taking a look at the spine design, it is matte with gloss finished words. And taking a look at the back cover, we can see we've got Necron, who is the sort of big bad of the event, and a whole host of other DC characters along the left-hand side. It gives us a synopsis of the event. We have a $150 US cover price because this is a very thick book, okay? Over 1,600 pages of post-crisis DC event goodness. So let's whip off the dust jacket and have a look at the wraparound cover that we get underneath. So we get a wraparound cover showing Black Lantern versions of a lot of different superheroes, as well as Necron in the middle, with the front cover being a giant Black Lantern version of Superman. Alright, so this book is very thick, okay? It's very important that you open it correctly. I have already opened mine multiple times and I have read through this once, so mine is pretty much broken in. Even still, you are going to hear crackling in the spine as I move through it. It has pretty tight binding. It is a mixture of sewn and glued binding, and you do get that crackle in some of the bigger DC books, okay? But it holds together well. None of the page block has pulled away from the ribbon or anything like that, so don't need to worry too much about it falling apart or anything like that. So opening it up, bookend pages are sort of a greeny black pattern. We get our Black Lantern logo for Blackest Night. We get a cover page, a title page. Our Black Lantern rings, these play a pretty big part in the event. Creative talent is listed here, creators of different characters like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Hawkman, all those sorts of things. We get an intro by Geoff Johns, who is the mastermind of this event, as it spins out of his epic Green Lantern run. And it jumps straight in. Now, one of the only complaints I would have about this book is the fact that it has no contents page. This is a massive 1,600 page plus book with no contents page. It doesn't tell you what issues you're looking at. It just jumps straight in, okay? Even the covers don't give you any indication of which issue you're looking at. It's just the plain covers, which is nice to look at, but I would have appreciated it if on the back of the covers we had have got a page here telling us the name of the issue, the creators, that sort of thing, so you know exactly what you're reading. The only way you're going to know what you're reading is if you look up a listing, or if you flip through the first few pages, you get one of these kind of intro pages here that gives the credits of who created it and the title of the issue. So we start off with one of the Blackest Night prelude issues, which gives us the rundown of William Hand, or Black Hand. This is such a great introduction to this character. It's Geoff Johns at his finest. Now, we get Doug Mahnke on art here, and he was one of the main key players in the art for Green Lantern with Geoff Johns, along with Ivan Reyes, who does a lot of art in here as well. They are fantastic top-tier DC talents. I love seeing their artwork, and I would say that this is Doug Mahnke's and Ivan Reyes' best DC work in here. Here we can see some Ivan Reyes. And if you've never read Jeff Johns' Green Lantern, and you're a comic book lover, you really owe it to yourself to read it. It's one of the best runs I've ever read in my life. Originally, I was a person who really only read Batman and Superman from DC, but I took a chance on the first Green Lantern Omnibus, and really glad I did. Introduced me to a whole new world of characters, and it was really what flipped me from being a Marvel person more so to a DC person. Here we go, we get some issues of Green Lantern Corps. Peter J. Tomasi wrote Green Lantern Corps in conjunction with Jeff Johns on the main Green Lantern title. The two really tie together. So we get all of the Green Lantern, Blackest Night, and Green Lantern Corps issues that relate to the Blackest Night event in here, as well as a bunch of different tie-ins. So we get Patrick Gleason on art for the the Green Lantern Corps issues, and his run with Peter J. Tomasi on Green Lantern Corps went for almost the same amount of time as Jeff Johns. And they were on both of those titles, I believe, for around about 10 years or so, almost 10 years. So we can see a bit more Doug Mahnke art here. Now, this cover here, Ivan Reyes. And Ivan Reyes does the Blackest Night event issues. And it's really some of his best work, in my opinion. Now, I'm going to have to flip through it pretty fast. It's a really thick book. This is a Starman tie-in, I think, written by James Robinson, but who is very famous for his Starman series, but I believe that had finished by this time. And we get lots of different tie-ins. I really love these event omnibus because they're sort of like a time capsule for that event in time in comics. So you can grab one of these out and you can really get an idea of what the stories were like within DC at the time, what the status quo was basically. So at this time, Batman is dead in the wake of Final Crisis, well, dead. And we've got Dick Grayson as Batman with his Robin being Damian. And so that's the status quo of Batman at the time, which it's really interesting to be able to look back and see that. And so, yeah, that's one of the reasons I always get all the DC event omnibus. I'm really looking forward to the Flashpoint one that we're going to get next year. And so here we go, back in some Green Lantern issues. We get tons of awesome double-page spreads. However, one of the issues with a book this big is you are going to get some gutter loss, okay? So gutter loss is where we get part of the art disappearing into the spine of the book. And so we are getting a little bit of gutter loss here on Carol. All right, looking through, back to a little bit more of the Peter J. Tomasi, Patrick Gleason. The Superman issues in here have got Eddie Barrow's art as well, and again, top of his game. These Batman and Robin issues are also really good. So I keep going through here. We get some Superboy Prime. Again, that's also written by Jeff Johns. He's the one who's sort of the architect of Superboy Prime throughout the post-crisis era. We can see him actually attacking the DC offices here. Superboy comes back in here. And we sort of just get to see a lot of different characters and their interactions with the Black Lanterns. Okay, we get so many tie-in issues, but none of them are bad. There was no issues in here, honestly, that I was reading and I thought, gee, I really want to just skip to the end of this issue. Sinestro is fantastic in this event. Jeff Johns really reinvented Sinestro throughout his Green Lantern run to make him a fantastic anti-hero, a lot like Jeff also did with Black Adam throughout his time on JSA. So keep going through. There's really no weak points at all in this run. Bit of Eddie Barrow's art here with Superman and Superboy. We also get some Ed Benes art on Teen Titans. And Ed Bennis has a real TNA type of style of art that some people like, some people don't. We'll keep going through, skipping some bigger chunks. So while we're flipping through, do you need this book if you have the Geoff Johns Green Lantern Omnibus set? I would say it certainly helps. You are going to get all of the main issues you need for this story in the Green Lantern Omnis. In the Green Lantern Omnis, you get all of the Green Lantern issues, you get the Blackest Night miniseries issues, and you also get the relevant Green Lantern core issues as well that tie in. So if you are only interested in the story within the context of Geoff Johns' Green Lantern run, I wouldn't say this book is actually essential. But if you really enjoyed the event and you want to see what happened to other characters within Blackest Night, it's worth picking up this book. And if, like me, you really like these event books just because they give you that time capsule of what the DC or the Marvel or whichever universe is like at that time period, again, it's definitely worth picking up. This is really one of DC's strongest events. And so if you just want to revisit this event in a one and done book, rather than going back through the whole Geoff Johns Green Lantern Omnibus set, it's worth picking up. But like I say, it's really not essential if you have those books. And from Blackest Night, we also lead into Brightest Day. And the ending of this book sets up Brightest Day, where some particular characters come back and Geoff Johns explores what's going to happen with them later on. It also has an omnibus. I think it may be out of print, but don't quote me on that. But it had notoriously bad binding. I had a copy of it and is my only omnibus I've ever had that has literally fallen apart as I read it. Had terrible glued binding, and it literally, the page block just came away from the cover and I had two pieces. So I took it back to the store where I got it from, and that was with the refund. I got my first Sandman omnibus, so it was worthwhile. I would love to have Brightest Day again. It's not of the quality of this particular book, but it's a great follow-on, and it's pretty much all Ivan Reyes art as well, so can't go wrong with that. Now, when we get to the end of most of the issues, we also get the Book of the Black, which is a little bit of prose that Geoff Johns has written from the perspective of Black Hand and how he sees the heroes, how he sees the events happening around him, which it's a really great insight into a very dark and messed up character. I'd never heard of Black Hand before Geoff Johns' Green Lantern run, but I'm glad I have heard of him. He's a fantastic character. We also get some one-shots up the back looking at different lanterns and their origin stories. So we get Saint Walker from the Blue Lantern Corps here, who has one of the most tragic pasts I've ever read outside of the Red Lantern Cat. And we can keep flipping through and we see Mongol, we see the Indigo Tribe, we get some double page spreads giving us little bios about each of the corps. So green, blue, Indigo Tribe. We get a backstory to Bleeze from the Red Lantern Corps. All the art in here is just top notch. It's just perfect DC house style. So if you love DC and you love this type of art, even worthwhile getting this book just as an art book. We get Carol Ferris, her backstory, how she became part of the, I've forgotten what they're called right now, sorry about that. And yeah, we get lots of those. We get Red Lantern Corps bio, Agent Orange for La Fleas, Star Sapphires, that's who they are, and Black Lantern Corps. Bit more backstory for some of the minor characters. All worth reading. I love even the little Animal Man backstory here. There's some deleted scenes as well from Blackest Night, some parts that didn't quite make it to the main book. And yeah, it pretty much sets us up for jumping into Brightest Day. We get some character sketches from some of the artists involved, like EVS, and pretty much every DC hero and villain reimagined as a Black Lantern in the back here, and little bios on them all as well. So all in all, great package. Expensive in Australia. You're probably gonna be lucky to get it in the current COVID situation for any less than 185 Australian dollars. Probably more like 200. I haven't checked the price for a little while since I've had mine since last year. But is it worth it if you've got the Jeff Johns Green Lantern books and you want to save yourself $200 or so? Probably don't need to pick it up. But it is a fantastic book. It's a fantastic event. Can you read it solo without having read Jeff Johns' Green Lantern? I'd say you could. You could pick it up and you could read it without any knowledge, but there's going to be a lot of stuff that you're like, what are they talking about? Like with all comics, you can jump in and have not done any other reading and enjoy it at a surface level. You can enjoy the artwork, the story, the writing, the cool moments, but to really understand what all of the little references and the nods and winks throughout the book, there's a lot of pre-reading you need to have done, and at minimum I would say the preceding Green Lantern run by Jeff Johns is really needed for this book, if not all of his other work on Infinite Crisis and JSA and other series like that as well. Those are all a pretty big investment to get into, but in my opinion, well worth it. Now, thank you guys for watching overall my video. I will be continuing the Jeff Johns love in upcoming videos. I'm currently reading my Doomsday Clock box set, so I will be throwing up a overview of that pretty soon. I'm not sure whether that will be next or whether my second half of my mega haul will be next, but stay tuned to Pop Culture Down Under for both of those videos. I'm pretty excited to get my haul, and I've been really enjoying Doomsday Clock as well. So, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.